on that to settle. So I could just settle with, say, 569 might be what it's going to cost me to finish. Now, I could just simply settle when it's completed and be done at that point. But something that is really interesting with NDIS properties and rooming houses, and I'll show you a plan of a rooming house in a minute, is we actually can do something really quite nifty. Now, in the SMSF world, you can't release the equity in the property once it's purchased by the SMSF. Okay, so if you've got 500,000 equity in there, there's no way to release that. You can't use that against another property that you purchase, but unless you sell the property, and obviously the money still stays within this SMSF until you retire. But you could then maybe put that 500 equity you had, 250 on two different properties. You could perhaps do that, but you can't use that equity and retain the property. But one way I can actually use some of my deposit, and now this is actually going to try and get my full deposit back so I can actually go again. So because my build time has gone over 12 months, I'm actually able to push my settlement by a few months and actually wait until the property has NDIS participants in renting and then settle with Supervest. Yes, I'm going to pay some more interest to them because, Supervest don't mind. I'm just having to pay the interest that they have to pay. But what it's actually going to do for me is I can then get a commercial valuation done because I'm actually purchasing a going concern. Now, there are a couple of lenders that actually understand the high yield properties like NDIS and rooming houses. Homestar Finance is one that we do actually have an arrangement with for this particular structure of lending. And that is that they can get a commercial valuation done on that once it is actually tenanted. Now, what that does, and my exact figures here were actually used as an example, and the valuation, we factored in 150,000 rent. So I've worked on, if you can see down here, 150,000 rent if I've got two participants on, say, 75,000 per room. I could get more, but that's just using quite a realistic average there. So taking that as the yearly rental, and then they calculate it out, they usually for a commercial valuation 10 times the yearly rental, and then they fudge it down by 20%, and then they factor in a vacancy percentage and this and that. So it actually put my commercial valuation for my example between 1.1 and 1.2 million. Then what they will do is allow me to borrow up to 80% of the commercial valuation because I'm purchasing the property tenanted as a going concern. Now, this is all works on paper. I'm going to be, the company is waiting for me to finish this damn house because I'm going to be Exhibit A to actually get this completed and show that we have a real living example that this does work. Now, I'm not interested in borrowing, so 80% of the lower part of that commercial valuation, 1.1, would be 880. I'm not particularly wanting to borrow above, but I can borrow essentially the full 785,000 and release my 257 back into my super fund to go again. All right. And that's the only time, because I technically don't own the property at that point. So being able to actually borrow the full amount because I'm purchasing it as a going concern, a high yield property, it's freeing up that deposit back into super. And I've already got another about 250 sitting there that I'm actually then able to go and rinse and repeat. And I want to do that again and again. Now, as I said, 56, I don't have a lot of time. I've got to, I really want to build my property portfolio very quickly. I want to try and get, 4 properties if I can. And, I'm not chucking a lot of any excess money into it. This is the way I'm trying to grow it. So this is a plan that we've got, and still making that positively geared at the end as well. Now, something that's also really interesting is getting the GST refunded back on the purchase of the property purchase of the property as well, because you're earning over 75,000 within your self-managed super fund, so your super fund would need to be GST registered as well.